Hello and welcome to the Holy Rivals Show. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown. With me is my partner, the Wild Ute.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
How was your weekend?
It was amazing. Amazing. Living the dream, Bomber.
I love it. I love it. So today we're here to do another short, and this one we're going to center on the University of Colorado, as we're looking at possible teams that could move from conference to conference. Colorado's at the very top. If you listen to Greg Flugar's Peek Around the Corner stage, he said he has Colorado on the stage itself. So we decided we were going to break down kind of their fit for both the Pac and if they went back to the Big 12. So before we get into the slideshow, is there anything you want everybody to know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that for what we provide, we're going to see realignment through a four-legged lens. Okay, and really, it's getting into that first slide there, but we're going to see realignment from four different legs of a stool with a binding in between here. And those legs, as it's outlined right here: cultural fit, strategic growth, academic alignment, athletic competitiveness, and then the binding that holds everything together is cash dollars, baby, here. So that's how we see things here at the Holy Rivals. Yeah. And really all these components are needed to hold up a stool. And one other disclaimer here, this is from the point of view, this realignment stool idea from the university side. So if you're the president of a university, if you're in the regents, this is really what we think at Holy Rivals are the most important factors. Not every factor, but massive factors that you need to consider and you need to be aware of and we need to discuss. We're going to look through the lens of this realignment stool at the University of Colorado to see, if they're a good fit for the Big 12 or staying in the Pac-12. And let's take a look at it. So let's jump to the first leg, Bomber. All right, here we go. So yeah, this is the sturdiness analysis. That's what we're calling this. And see this guy down there? That's the president of Colorado, Todd, here. So we're going to put ourselves in his shoes, okay? We're going to be Todd for a second during this analysis, okay? So let's do it. Let's jump in. All right, leg one. It's a big leg, maybe the most important one, okay? And that's the cultural fit of CU, okay? And really, what we mean by that, it's the mission of the university and the geographic fit. Those two things are really the big ideas to take away. And the missions may be the most important. And that really is, what's your university all about? Like, it's your mission statement, like, who are we as a university? And I provided here in quotes Colorado's mission statement. And a couple things that stood out to me that we all talk about a lot: public research university, research, advancing research and knowledge. You can just see all through this language and stuff. They're really touting themselves as a research university. And that's who they want to be deemed as and seen as to the public, to everybody here. So that's the mission of Colorado. So the first thing we need to ask ourselves, how does that line up with the Big 12 versus existing Pac-12 schools? It would have been too much of an eyesore to include all the mission statements of all the other universities. I mean, I wasn't even going to try to do that. But I took a look at a couple Big 12 mission statements for other universities, and a few of them semi-aligned with Colorado's mission, but a few of them didn't also. Like the University of Baylor's is centered towards a different mission, and also TCU's, BYU's. So the first thing we're going to look at is the mission of the university, is it consistent with your peers? And in the Pac-12, a lot of these schools really do align pretty closely as far as their mission: to advance research, to study, to develop, to innovate. So really, that's a strong case for the Pac-12, for CU in the Pac-12 here. So the mission's the first part of cultural fit. We're moving on now. Bomber, any questions about that? We go back.
No, not at all. I think it's pretty self-evident.
Yeah,
I
go back
appreciate you going through that. Okay, hang on. Asking me to go back isn't as easy as asking me to go forward. That's all right.
We do our best, but we're not perfect here, right?
Yeah, it's all right. It doesn't matter. I don't care.
So in the second part of the cultural fit is the geographic fit. Here, and I threw CU on the map. And are they touching other states where Big 12 teams are located? Are they contiguous? And you can see that CU definitely is. Look, BYU is on one side, K-State, KU's on one side, touching Oklahoma State. So really, geographically, this is an old Big 12 team squad. This is a perfect geographic fit. CU. So really, as far as checking the box on the geographic side, CU is easy, no brainer on that piece. And both of those really factor into your cultural fits too. So now we can move on to the next one, Bomber.
That's all right.
All right, here. This is something that we need to all think about more. And a strategic growth. So if you're the university president, remember again, we're the CU university president, Todd. We're in his chair here. Where are the students coming from? You know, if I'm trying to grow CU as a university, where's my student population? Where am I pulling students from? And where are my alumni going after they graduate? And these two illustrations kind of give you a little bit of view on that. I know that it's kind of hard to see because there's a lot of stuff going on, but it lays out for CU. Their student population is mostly coming from Colorado. That's not surprising. But then the second largest slice of that pie is actually from California, y'all. And that's something to note right here. So the students, about 12.1% of the students approximately are coming from California. And then if you look down, Texas is a smaller slice of that, and then some other Big 12 areas. But are the big question to ask yourself, are CU students coming from Big 12 territories? Are they coming from Pac-12 territories? And based on this, it looks like mostly because of that California slice of the pie, Pac-12. So that's another big advantage for the Pac-12 as far as the sturdiness analysis for CU. Now looking to the right side here, that's just where their alumni are located. And those highlighted states are the largest populous areas for the alumni. And you can see Texas is in there, California, and obviously the state of Colorado too. This graph to the right is a bit stale. It's from, I believe, 2016, but still, I think that really nothing much has changed as far as where the alumni are moving. I don't see really any major change in that, but California, something to keep an eye on. California and secondary Texas behind Colorado, as far as where the alumni and where the existing students are coming from. So strategically, if I'm the president of CU, I'm really considering those factors. Like if we take a move to the Big 12, are we still going to be able to pull the California kids and come to the university? Because that's kind of our pipeline right now. So we can move on to the next one, Bomber. All right, y'all, this is absolutely dumbfounding, shocking to me. This really is. This blows my mind in this analysis. And the reason for this blowing my mind is because I've heard so much that being in the Pac-12 and aligning with Pac-12 schools is going to lift your academic profile. And this doesn't tell everything, but this tells a lot here. So this analysis is really on the rankings. Some of the largest areas that do college rankings, as far as the quality of the university, the top colleges like US News is breaking out different rankings for Forbes and the Shanghai World Rankings too. And you can see here, this last year, CU academically was 97th in US News. And back in the Big 12 era, when they left the Big 12 back in 2010, their last year, they're 77th. They've actually decreased 20 spots since they've been in the Pac-12.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It is crazy. At Forbes, I couldn't find that 2010 historical information, but looking at the Shanghai World Rankings, which measures based on some different criteria than US News, you can see in 2022, CU's ranking 51st in the world based on Shanghai's metrics. But back in the Big 12 days, they were 32nd. They're 32nd. So,
I wonder if that, and let's just chat about that for a second. Is that because when they joined the Pac-12, they were asked to perform and do different things than they were required to when they were in the Big 12? They changed their focus from maybe overall education to let's be more up in like research? I mean, there has to be a reason why they would change quite a bit in both of those stats.
I mean, they're still really good, right? When we're talking about world rankings and you're in the top, roughly the top 50.
Right, of course.
Squawk at, right? I mean,
right.
I don't think they really changed any of their educational approach. I really don't. I don't know exactly what's driving that. That's just kind of, the facts of where the rankings fell.
Okay.
The last idea here is we've talked about NSF. That's the National Science Foundation research rankings. And really, what kind of research has a university been doing that's huge for the Big Ten and the PAC and the ACC schools? And we're looking at the compound growth rates from the Big 12 era. I only found data back to 2004, but from 04 to 2010, CU was growing in their research spending about 5.57% per year. Then they go into the Pac-12 in the 2011 timeframe, and that slowed down to about 3.12% as far as a compound growth rate in the Pac-12 era. So they're actually the trajectory was quicker in the Big 12 at the research end than in the Pac-12, although it's still grown, as you can see. It was still kind of shocking to see that they were growing pretty significantly in the Big 12 and
Yeah.
even more so than in the Pac. And that's surprising for me to see, right?
Yeah, I wonder what the corollary is. What is the reason for that? We might not have that in this presentation, but boy, in the future, it would certainly be information that would be nice to figure out.
Absolutely. Now we can move on to the next leg here.
Okay.
All right, here. This one, it probably won't shock anybody, but how competitive is the conference that CU is considering and any school's considering, especially within the view of our four-legged stool here? So leg four, really, we're looking at, is the conference going to is it going to enhance the brand of the school? Is it really get exposure? So we're getting in now for media contracts. We're seeing the visibility of the school, wins, losses, and how successful the school is with the conference, and can that boost the brand of the school? That's really the big idea here. And so wanted to take a look at CU in the Big 12 days, the old Big 12 days versus the Pac days. And you can see these charts. Chart to the left is the total football wins. This ain't going to surprise anybody. We know that CU struggled in the Pac era, but really on a comparable time frame, on a 12-year time frame for each last 12 years for the Big 12 and the last 12 years in the Pac-12, I mean, CU was winning a lot more football games. And in the middle graph, it's men's basketball wins. Actually, CU's been a little bit better in the Pac-12 than the Big 12 and men's basketball. But, I mean, it's not like they're making the tournament every year and everything. So they're not super elite, but they've improved the brand of their basketball slightly. But to me, looking at football versus basketball, that football weight's going to have a lot more. And CU used to have a really big brand when they were in the Big 8. They won a national championship back in around the 1991 timeframe. And they've really fallen off in the Pac era. We all know that, but this kind of shows you graphically what that looks like. And then try to get a little creative to look at like how competitive the conferences were when CU was last in the Big 12 versus the last 3 years in the Pac-12. So if you look to the right side, that small graph to the bottom right, in the Big 12 era, the last 3 years that CU was in the Big 12, how competitive was the Big 12? And you can see in that graph, quite a bit more competitive than the whole Pac-12's been the last 3 years.
Right.
You can see the timeframes outlined there. How this analysis was conducted, I just looked at total ESPN Football Power Index figures for the entire conference, everybody in the conference. I added those together. Then I added 3 years worth of it together to get these sums right here. But it just gives you a visual to see how much stronger the prior Big 12 iteration with Texas and some of the other schools, right, that have left since, but it was a much stronger conference than the current Pac-12 iteration, even with USC and UCLA. So that's got to factor into your decision to see if you should move or not.
I think that's the difference between having 2 or 3 top-heavy, really good schools in a single sport versus an entire conference, and that competitive balance. It's a huge mismatch in football.
Absolutely, yeah. We can go to the last.
You bet.
All right, here's the great unknown, you all. We're talking about money, and money's the binding for the stool. Money matters in every area of the stool. If you don't have enough money somewhere, it can totally impact everything. So it is the great unknown that involves media contracts, that involves student population growth, tuition, dollars, and really is hovering around everything. Money has to be acceptable, adequate, and improving eventually if you're going to be a growing university. So despite everything we've said, which might point you to saying that a Big 12 is a better fit for CU or the Pac-12, the money's the great unknown. Really, money could be that factor that breaks the stool apart or solidifies it. That's the thing we just don't know about right now, but we'll find out more about with the media contract at least. Any thoughts about that, Bomber?
I think the one thing that everybody should take note of is that these are major moving targets that we're talking about here. When we're talking about these different legs of this stool, is that each one is going to weigh differently for each president. And what we're trying to do is provide the information for you guys to take and independently analyze and see which is the most important thing. Do we jump all the way back to when we were talking about the mission statement? Is that the one thing that we all fall back on, and that's the most important? Or is it farther down the line, and we're talking about, well, this is where all our students are coming from, or all these different pieces to make that final decision. I don't know how you make it. Honestly, I would never want to be a university president. So I think these are difficult questions. It's certainly not as easy as saying if you get 31 versus $25 million for a media deal, that's going to make the difference. I think we've pretty much debunked that idea. It's not about the money. It's about the exposure and what it does for your school.
It's about the exposure. That's one aspect of it. And we're looking at the exposure. We're looking at the lens of the athletic leg of the stool, right? There's so many legs here. Like you said, it's not an easy decision. It's not a no-brainer by any means. There's advantages both ways. So CU is going to have to make a difficult decision. But the purpose of this short was to give you guys all the facts that we have, how we're thinking about it, from the lenses we're thinking about realignment, and the things that we really believe are going to make the decision.
And what we want to do is involve you in the discussion. Definitely watch this video and then give us definitely subscribe to the channel so you get more of these. Leave us your comments and suggestions. Follow us on Twitter. But outside of that, let us know what you want to see, because this, again, we're getting feedback from our listeners that are saying, hey, I'd really like to know about this, or I'd really like to know about that. We're trying to use this stool and these different legs and then the binding to figure out what these university presidents are actually doing to decide. Now, once realignment's done and we're on to other things, yeah, this will probably fade into the background for a while. But certainly right now, we need your input. We need the input of the people that watch us, and we'll want to use that so that hopefully we continue and do a short next week. Who knows where we're going to be in a week? The world is changing so quickly, but we want to involve you in that conversation.
Yep, it's not all about academics, y'all. It's not all about athletics. It's about a lot of factors here, right? And this really all matters. Every little thing we've talked about today matters, and there's probably more that we'll consider in the future too. But really, these are some big points, so think about them on your end. It's going to give you a really good breadcrumb to see what CU is going to do here in the coming weeks, months, in making that decision.
Very good. All right, Ute. Well, I guess we'll sign off for this one. We'll see you guys at our next live show, which is Monday at 8:45 Eastern. Until then, everybody have a great night and peace.
Yep. Go Utes.